All right, welcome everybody to the Grilling Truth Super Bowl 50 Pick'em Show, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app where you can call a play of a live NFL game and see what everybody else has called. So make sure you check that out at www.gridironmo.com. Also sponsored by SteelbergBox.com and RealBengalsFans.com. As always, for the Pick'em Show, I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. I want to welcome in my co-host, Matt Andrew Scavage. How you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm doing great. Always good to be here.
And former Pittsburgh Steeler, Jacksonville Jaguar, All-Pro offensive lineman, Leon Searcy.
How you doing, gentlemen?
Super Bowl week. Hey, we all got everything right last week. None of us missed a game.
All right.
That's right.
We were all 0-0.
Did any of us watch the Pro Bowl?
No. I turned it on, and it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I turn it on, and they run a run play up the middle. And he runs up to jogs up to the line. They touch him, and then they blew the whistle.
That's horrible. Now,
Leon, you played in a Pro Bowl. You want to tell us what the Pro Bowls were like in the 90s?
Well, okay, Pro Bowls.
It was like a regular game back then.
Yeah, it was a decent regular game, but it depends on who you're going up against. Okay. Now, I went up against Strahan. So Strahan and I, most of our rushes were choreographed. So he would tell me, hey, I'm coming up the field with a rip move, or I'm spinning inside. Okay, I'm coming inside of this play. So we had a nice little verbiage between one another on what we was going to do, because neither one of us, no one wants to get hurt going into the offseason.
Right.
Okay. Now, the second guy I had to go up against. Now, me and this guy's had history way back in the East-West Shrine game. This guy, Robert Porche. I think Robert hates me. Robert was literally trying to kill me at the Pro Bowl. So I said, it's game on. So then I had to, a couple of times I had to light him up with my hands, or I had to punch him, or I had to get physical with him, because he was actually at game speed. And, you got a quarterback back there. I was blocking for Peyton Manning. I like Peyton. I was going to let him get hit by Robert, but me and him went at it. I'm telling you, here's the thing. At the East-West Shrine game, we were considered one of the top two. He was one of the top D tackles. I was one of the top offensive linemen at the East-West Shrine. So every day in practice, we went up against each other, and it was a bloodbath. We pushed, we shoved, we hated each other, probably called each other mama out the names. But I thought at the Pro Bowl, he was going to be a little bit more chill, and he wasn't. So me and him went game speed. Now, it just depends on who you get. But the way they're playing it now, I didn't even watch it, man. You can only tell me how bad it was. Was it that bad? How was the O-line, D-line play?
They didn't play. They stood and leaned on each other. If there was a play-action pass, Leon, they would think it was a run.
Oh, wow.
And the defensive line would stand up. The offensive line leaned on them. And then when they realized it was a pass, they would all gently run forward. And if they got to the quarterback, they would tag him on the back, and they blew the whistle.
That's disgusting.
Now, I only watched like 5 plays, and that's what I got from it. Did you watch any more of it than that, Matt?
I didn't see any of it. I just heard from I saw a couple things on Twitter, and I heard from just a couple of people just how bad it was.
Oh, man. You know what they
should do? Why even play it anymore?
Cancel the game.
They really ought to cancel it.
Yes, just give them the trip.
They said I guess the last time they threatened to cancel it, the Players Association went crazy. So in that case, what I would do then is take a real hard stance and say, all right, fine. If you guys want this game, then if you get selected to the Pro Bowl, you got to show up.
Yeah, but the problem is not the guys showing up. It's the problem actually having a real football game once they do.
Right. Yeah, they got to do something.
So
I don't know how they can
transition from that. We've already wasted too much time talking about that stupid crap.
I had a good story, but go ahead. We're going to the Pro Bowl.
Go ahead. Tell us the story then. Well, but I do know this, Leon. Before that story, I wanted to get this in. We need to find Robert Porche and have you guys on a show together.
Bring him on.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
he'll deny it, but I know the truth.
I'm gonna start looking for him.
We'll look for him. Well, I'm scared. I
we'll
still
find
live.
him. No, I'm figuring he'll be scared to come on the show because you're.
No, wait. Well, he lives in Orlando. I can give you that much right there.
All right. Well, see if he's on Facebook or anything. But what's your story?
No, here's the thing. When I was at the Pro Bowl, the team that loses the AFC Championship game, their coaching staff has to coach the Pro Bowl back then. So it happened to be the Jaguars. It was Tom Coughlin, because we had lost to Tennessee 3 times in a row, and Tom Coughlin's host that went to the Pro Bowl. So Tom Coughlin is running the Pro Bowl like he's running practice at Jacksonville. Some of the guys there are like, what is he doing? So I remember distinctly Cortez Kennedy and Keyshawn Johnson, while we trying to stretch, they took a knee. They said, "Sirs, what's your man doing? We don't do all this at the Pro Bowl." I said, "Hey, man, this ain't nothing new." So the whole time the Pro Bowl's going on, I'm hearing the late, great Junior Seau say, "Hey, Coach, I got a tea time at 1. I said, "Huh?" The coach,
oh boy.
The coach, you got to speed this up. I got tea time at 1. So he's saying that. I think Coach Coughlin thinks he's joking. He keeps saying this. So next thing you know, Junior Seau goes up to one of the assistant coaches' whistles and blows practice up. He said, "Bring it in. Bring it in." I said, "What?" All the guys ran in, broke it down, and left. He ran and played golf. Tom Coughlin's face was legendary.
Wow.
I said, "Well, hey, that's Junior Seau. What you going to tell Junior Seau?" Man said at tea time, and he wasn't going to miss it. And he didn't miss it.
Especially when you're not his coach.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, that was awesome. Hilarious. I loved every inch of that. I said, damn, I wish he was on my team. How many times he could have just blew practice? Well, you could have, Tom Coughlin's face was legendary, I swear.
Did Tom Coughlin ever have any chill?
Tom Coughlin, you know what? Tom Coughlin was cool. My first year in Jacksonville, he was a hard ass. But after a while, once he realized that he had to put the foot on the pedal or on the players all the time, he would chill. Sometimes we're in the locker room playing cards or whatever. He'd come and ask who's winning. He'll look at somebody's hand and say, "Oh, you put that down." I mean, he had a little sense of humor to him. He actually became a guy later on in Jacksonville where you could sit down and have a beer with. Now, his first year when I was there, I ain't want no parts of Tom Coughlin. No way. But as the years went on, he got better. I like old TC.
Well, and also, I mean, there's a glaring omission from this show, which kind of helps us pick the game because he's not here, and that's Mark Cooper, former Denver Bronco. Coop claims he's at an Avalanche game. He even sent me a picture of him in his seat, but I mean, I don't know if I believe that or not. What do you think, Leon?
He may be. Hockey, got to get into it. Are the Avalanches? I mean, are they any good? I have no idea about hockey.
I have no clue.
No, man.
You'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
I know in the 90s they were good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, but we give Mark a hard time, but we'll get him back on the show next week when we review this game and see what he thinks of his Broncos' performance. So we bring up Super Bowl week. Leon, you played in Super Bowl 30.
Yes, I did.
How hectic was it leading up to Super Bowl week? I know we just interviewed Gary Dunn a little while ago, and he talked about the tickets and all that the week leading up to the Super Bowl. What kind of pain in the ass is that for a player?
Oh, the first, once you win the Super Bowl, you're happy, lifelong dream as a kid, wanting to play in the Super Bowl. But then it becomes hectic because what you want to do, what I did, I got all family out the way first. Because all of a sudden, you got family members that you had no idea existed once you make it to the Super Bowl. And you get I know I got 25 tickets. So you got tickets you could have, tickets you could sell. I gave all my family members all 25 of my tickets. So you get family out the way. Travel hotel, if you got a reliable girlfriend or wife or whatever, let her handle all the arrangements, the hotels. I was married at the time. I told my wife, look, take everybody's hotel room. Make sure they're not too close. You don't want them too close because you don't want them to become a distraction, but you don't want them too far away where you can't see them. Then, once all that's taken care of, you still got to focus in on the fact that you got to play a football game. It's got to get on the game plan. You're going to have a lot of fans, especially in Pittsburgh. They're going to tell you how great you are. You're going to get media coverage. They're going to ask you all kinds of questions about the Super Bowl, this, and that, whatever. Don't say anything stupid. Just don't. The one thing I remember Bill Cowher telling us, don't give the Cowboys building board material. But someone always does. Something's always said out of context, and it becomes building. I think I may have said, one reporter may have asked me one time, do you think you're going to win? I said, yeah, hell yeah, I think we're going to win. I mean, that's a stupid question to ask. But the media flipped that around. Like, Leon said they're going to win. Leon did that. So always be complimentary of the other team, how great they are, how they look on film, blah, 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 this, that. Then you go in 2 days, you practice, you're focused in, you're in full gear, you're hitting each other. The intensity is a lot. Intensity is high because, most of the times the ones are going to go against the ones sometimes because you want that game speed because you don't always get the game speed you're looking for in the Super Bowl when you're going up against the South team or the second tier or third tier teams. So the ones go up against the ones. So I remember having to go up against Lloyd and Green and Kirkland and Brown and all those guys, and we're going at it full blow. We do that for a day or two, get the hitting in, then the soreness, and then there's the travel. You got to pack like you're going on tour. You got to bring your suits. You got to bring your shorts. You got to bring all the other kind of stuff. And then this is an opportunity when you fly out, your wife can actually fly with you. So a lot of the wives flew with the team and came down together, whatever, get in the hotel. The fanfare is at the when you get there. We were in Scottsdale, Arizona. Great city. I wasn't into golf, so at the time, so a lot of guys go play golf, relax, family. You get no curfew, but I'll promise you've got to give yourself a curfew. The first couple of days there's no curfew. Coach said, hey, go have a good time, don't get in any trouble, blah, blah, blah. Big mistake. You got to put a time frame on when you get your ass back in the hotel. Okay? You got to because guys are going to go to clubs, guys are going to go to strip clubs, guys are going to go drink, they're going to go party, everything's going to be at VIP, access. Greatest party I ever went to was Magic Johnson's party. Greatest party ever I went to. It was in Scottsdale, Magic Johnson. I remember walking by and said, wow, damn, that's Magic Johnson. I said, well, I'm going to be at this party. I had to see Magic. It was a great party. Cowboys happened to be there. We had a curfew. The Cowboys didn't. And as we're leaving, the Cowboys are, basically, they're poking fun at us because we had a curfew and they did it. And I was like, we're going to whoop y'all ass. Y'all can laugh all you want, but we're going to whoop their ass. Didn't work anyway. I guess not having curfew, they still won the game. But you get into now, you get later on in the week, all that stuff with the family, dinner, put that behind you. Now you focus in, you lasered in on the game. We usually leave the hotel and go to another hotel to keep away from the media and the distractions and all that kind of stuff. We're zoomed in. We might get another bang day with the ones and ones. Then as the days get closer, you realize, man, I'm playing in the freaking Super Bowl. It doesn't get any bigger than this. Only unfortunate thing about it is that when you lose a Super Bowl, it's probably going to be the most devastating loss you've ever had as a professional athlete, and it was for me. Because to get that close and lose was just devastating. But the whole time I was there in Scottsdale, I had a great time. Absolutely had a great time.
All right, well, we got to go ahead and pay some bills, so check out this commercial from Gridiron Mo.
This is former All-Pro Leon Searcy. I've got a new interactive app called Gridiron Mo, where you get to call the plays, offense or defense, and a live NFL game. You get to interact with other fans, pick the play, pick the call. That's Gridiron Mo.
And we're back. We're going to go ahead and preview Super Bowl 50 with myself, Mike Goodpaster, Leon Searcy, Matt Andrews-Scavage. What do you think is the biggest X factor coming into this game, Matt?
Well, X factor usually means the team that isn't favored to win. What is the one thing that could happen on their side that could maybe turn the tide?
Or one player that could be the X factor also. Either way.
Yeah, I think if it's a defensive struggle, Carolina, I think Greg Olsen is probably going to be the biggest problem for Denver to try to stop. It doesn't seem to matter who covers him, which linebacker, which safety is on him. He finds ways to get open. So even in a tight game, he's going to probably be the guy that make a big third down. He can bust off a 30-yard post or seam route or anything. He guy finds ways to get open. For Denver, boy, it's really hard to say just because Carolina's defense is so good. But if Denver can pass, then that'll possibly open things up for C.J. Anderson. So I would say probably the two tight ends would be the guys that could provide the biggest, especially in a tight game, being able to convert on third down, being able to be a problem for the other team's linebackers. Because Carolina sends Thomas Davis Sr. and Kuechly to the quarterback on blitzes, and so Owen Daniels could find a way to get open. I don't know how much they're going to use Vernon Davis, but I got to believe both tight ends are the ones that could end up being a problem, especially in a close game.
Well, I think this. You talked about passing the ball. I think that about the only way to run the ball on Denver is to be successful passing it. I know Cincinnati, first half, averaged a little over 4 yards a carry because they're throwing the ball. Second half, when they just tried to line up and run and Denver knew it was coming, they got absolutely nothing. So, Leon, what would be your X factor player-wise or key here?
I think the X factor for the Broncos is going to be Wade Phillips. Closer and closer I get to this game, the more I'm giving the Broncos a chance to pull this thing off, even though I am picking Carolina to win.
Well, don't tell us yet. We're supposed to do that again.
Well, my bad. Okay, well, listen, I think Wade Phillips, and like I said, I played against Wade when he was defense coordinator with Buffalo. He's going to put a package together. I know. With Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware rushing the end and keeping Cam in that pocket, I know they're going to put a spy on him. He's going to come up with different fronts. He's going to give them different looks. He's going to blitz them. He's going to force them to stay in the pocket. I'm not really sold on Cam Newton's receivers against that secondary and that defense and that front seven. Not quite. I think I agree with Matt in saying that Greg Olsen is probably going to be the X factor for Carolina, but I just think Denver is going to find a way to neutralize him. They've got to know that that's his strongest weapon. That's his bailout. That's his go-to guy when things get hot. That's the guy he goes to. And I know Wade Phillips knows that. I know he's going to put together a defense that's going to try to neutralize him. And those other receivers for Carolina are going to have to make plays. They're going to have to make plays. And I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Wade Phillips is going to put a game plan together to neutralize Greg Olsen and to make those other receivers make plays. And I agree with Matt and Greg Olsen. He's got to find windows. He's got to find openings in zones. He's got to beat press coverage. He's got to make outstanding catches, I think, throughout the game. Because I don't think it's going to be a fun fest like it was last week against the Cardinals. I don't see them putting up those many points against Denver. But also with the Broncos and the Carolina's defense, I just think it's going to be. I think at the beginning of the week, I thought that Carolina, after what they did to the Cardinals, they were just going to blow away Denver. But the more and more I'm getting closer to the Super Bowl, the more and more I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. And I don't think many points are going to be scored because of what Wade Phillips is going to do, and then what Peyton hasn't shown he's been capable of doing all season long, which is making accurate throws or making deep throws or whatever. So I think that's going to be the key.
And let's face it, I mean, to me, the Cardinals' defense is pretty good, and they're not a bad defense. The reason their defense looked bad is because their offense kept giving the ball back on their own side of the field. That's the whole key here. The X factor for me, that's going to seem weird, but the Broncos have plenty of defensive star power. Quarterbacks have try to avoid throwing at receivers shadowed by Chris Harris Jr. and Aqib Talib all year, both Pro Bowl selections. But because of that, they've got a young guy in their secondary by the name of Bradley Roby. And Roby, to me, looks like he's going to be a future star in the league. He's played as the team's third cornerback. He's a great tackler. The Broncos have also used him at safety even in their base defense over the last few weeks that I've noticed. They call it a look single, as in one safety on the field, basically. If Roby holds up in coverage, the Broncos will stop the run, and their defense will dominate the game, is what I believe will happen. Because I believe Roby, I don't think there's any safety outside linebacker in the NFL that can shut out Greg Olsen. Just like there's not one that can shut out Gronkowski or Eifert. These guys are going to make plays. The key is this, though. I think that Roby can keep Olsen from making the big long play, and I think with how good he tackles, I think he can hold Olsen to where he may catch the ball for a 10-yard gain, but it's going to stay a 10-yard gain, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
So I think this whole game comes down to whether Roby can cover Olsen. I mean, I think Roby's going to be really good. It's just, what's he going to be like in this moment in this game? And I think also, you look at Denver. I mean, Denver played a lot of close games this year, which can be a good thing. But, I mean, they're the first team to overcome a 14-point deficit and win 3 times. All 3 teams they did it against were playoff teams. And, I mean, Manning's not had a great year, but their defense is dominant. My big thing on this is, can they run the ball? Which, if they can run the ball, they can win. Now, the other thing that worries me if I'm going to pick the Panthers is they play a defense similar to what Seattle plays in the secondary, but they don't do it with as good of players. They play a lot of cover 2, a lot of help over the top. The problem with that is Peyton Manning is still a pretty accurate passer in between the hash marks. And if they're running cover 2, the soft part of cover 2 is going to be in the middle of that field.
Mm-hmm.
Where, to me, if I'm going to play Peyton Manning, I'm going to keep inside leverage at all times and force him to throw the ball outside of the hash marks. Yep. So I know that if it's Wade Phillips, that would happen. With Carolina and their defensive coordinator, I don't know that will happen. And, I mean, Peyton, if he's throwing the ball outside the hashes, he's going to throw interceptions. I mean, he's done it for the last couple of years. I know when the Bengals played him last year on a Monday Night Football game, their DBs kept inside leverage the whole game. They get 4 picks, all of them outside of the hash marks. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just according to what the game plan Carolina comes up with. Because I think that you need Peyton to throw the ball outside the hashes. So and the problem is Carolina has pretty much, like Seattle, stayed in that one solid coverage all year. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Leon?
Yeah, that's I'm sure Carolina has been, evaluating Peyton and his struggles. I did not know that Peyton Manning, most of his interceptions were outside the hashes.
Well, I mean, his arm strength is not what it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're absolutely right.
And if you think about most of his interceptions, they're either deep passes or they're passes outside of the hash.
Yeah.
A lot of deep balls get picked off.
Yeah. And I never thought that, we would see the day where we'd be questioning Peyton Manning's arm strength or his ability to make the throws. Because we've seen it throughout his career that he's always been that guy that can make those, he could thread the needle when it comes to throwing the ball. So it's going to be a good and Cam, I'm sure that defensively, Wade Phillips is going to, put. Cam has a tendency to, want to, push the window when it comes to making completions and stuff and try to fit that tight window. So I'm sure that because of those 2 DBs, they are lockdown DBs. They are Pro Bowl DBs. And I'm not sold on his receiving core, not against that defense. And Olsen is his bailout guy. That's his guy. When trouble is near, he's looking for Olsen. Those other receivers will have to step their game up in order to make him a lot more comfortable because they're going to be coming. I'm concerned about their tackles, the Carolina Panthers' offensive tackles, because I know Von Miller is one of the best in the game when it comes to rushing the passing. So It's going to be interesting. Like I said, as earlier in the week I had it as a blowout, but as I get closer and closer to the actual game, I'm seeing how this could be a defensive struggle. Everybody's talking about Carolina is just going to run away with this thing, whatever. But that's like you said, if the offensive line can protect Manning, they can establish the run game, and don't put their defense in compromising positions where they have to defend a short field. I think Denver's got a shot, but they've got to be able to run and establish the run game. And Carolina's linebackers are one or two of the best in the league. Defensive front is stout. So I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. The closer and closer I get to the game, I don't see a lot of points in this game. I see this as something maybe like a 17-14, 20-17, 20-14 game. Yeah.
Now, Matt, he brought up the offensive line for Denver. I think the big problem in picking Denver, because, I mean, I really want to. From what I look at here, with Wade Phillips, the defensive coordinator, who I respect the heck out of, his dad should be in the Hall of Fame, one of the most underrated coaches of all time. And Wade's probably up there, too, probably one of the most underrated defensive coordinators at all times, because people don't really mention him when they talk about great coaches or great coordinators. My question is this, and this is the big one to me. If Carolina comes and just sends everybody, which I think they'll do, because Carson Palmer, he's still got the arm strength that Peyton doesn't have, but he also has the lack of mobility. I mean, is there any way they can be successful if Carolina starts blitzing them like that? Because I don't think there's any way with their offensive line that they can block Carolina if Carolina's bringing 7 guys.
They're going to have a couple of really good hot routes. You watch Peyton Manning's tendency is to, back in the day he would hit Dallas Clark on those in routes. He would hit running backs out of the backfield, just get the ball out of there very quickly. I think he's going to have to do that. He's going to have find a way to get Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas the ball quickly. They're going to have to get the ball out of there, because you're right. If they start sending 5 and 6 guys, and if nobody's open, Manning's either going to be throwing the ball away or he's going to be eating dirt, because I just don't think he's going to be able to get away. They got a really, really good pass rush, especially when they send the blitz. This is really where they need to get Vernon. They really need Vernon Davis, because he's got speed.
I disagree. I think Owen Daniels is a bigger deal. I think Owen Daniels is a better tight end.
I agree with that. But this is where having both of them out there would really be an advantage, because I think that having both those, that's what I'm saying, is they need to get Vernon Davis involved to complement Owen Daniels, because I think he's a matchup problem. But he seems to have disappeared from the offense.
Well, and the problem is, if you put them both, if you go a 2 tight end set, you got a tight end on each side or whatever, you almost have to keep one of them in the block if they're going to send 6 or 7 guys.
Well, and that's the thing. Vernon can block. I just don't understand what is the problem. Like,
maybe he's lost a step or two, because I'm surprised he hasn't been implemented in the offense at all. I mean, has he
dropped passes?
Oh,
I think he caught one pass that I remember in a championship game, but I remember after he caught that pass, the announcers, and Phil Simms sucks as an announcer, by the way, because he doesn't think he ever has to shut up. But
yes.
I mean, he just annoys me. I just had to get that off my chest. I can't stand Phil Simms or Dan Fouts as announcers. But I remember they said that the week before against Pittsburgh, he was only in the game for 3 snaps total.
Right. There's for some reason he's just not getting in the game.
So the question is, has he lost a step, or has he lost interest?
I think there's a few things going on. I can tell you that he has not been the same since his injury last year, and I don't know if it's a lack of motivation. I don't know if it's scheming. I don't know if he's just not grasping the offense. He has been in the game. When Brock Osweiler was there, they had a couple of really big games that they. On 3rd down, he dropped two weeks in a row, major, big, possible 3rd down conversions that ended up costing them the game. So I don't know if they just said, this isn't happening anymore, and we're going to put you on the bench for that. But, boy, this would really be the game. If they could get him going, that would really, really help Peyton Manning have another target that can get separation, that can do anything, because he's going to have to get the ball out of there fast.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, my next question is, Who has the advantage at quarterback between Peyton Manning and Cam Newton? I know it sounds nuts to even bring that up with the season Newton's had, but I've actually seen a lot of people on TV said that with Manning's experience that he would have the advantage. My worry about this game is with these two defenses that they both throw 3 or 4 picks because we don't know what's going to happen if Cam gets hit in the mouth in a Super Bowl. We know what happens when Peyton does. And unfortunately for Peyton's teams in the past, it doesn't usually work out too well. So what's your thought on the quarterback situation, Matt?
I think you're right on the the fact that both quarterbacks really could throw interceptions. Every time I've watched Cam Newton over the last 3 years, when you get pressure on him, especially in close games, even Arizona was able to force one. Now they threw it right back, but he will throw interceptions. His completion percentage is not 69, 70%. It's
it's
barely
58 normally.
Yeah, I mean, he does make mistakes, and this is why he gets the front runner image. Until he does it in a close game, I mean, I think he's gotten a lot more respect now this year than he has in years past, and he's earned it. But I still think the Broncos really have a chance to get pressure on him. And another X factor is really going to be Corey Brown, the wide receiver. He likes to take a lot of deep shots to Corey Brown, so I think Chris Harris is probably going to be on him. If he can prevent him from making the big play, and like you were talking about with the safety being able to kind of contain Greg Olsen, I just don't know that he's going to have anywhere to go with the ball. Now, the advantage he has is he can run, and that's going to be a real problem for Denver, but even though they have the personnel to stop it. So I would think that Cam Newton would still have the advantage just because of his running ability. But I think you're right. I think this really could be one of those ugly turnover Super Bowls.
Right. Leon, what's your opinion on the quarterbacks?
I think Cam has the clear-cut advantage in this Super Bowl. To be quite honest with you, because last time we saw Peyton, well, yeah, he's not 40. That's the point. Last time we saw Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl, when they brought the house, we just saw Manning unravel. And it had a lot to do with the fact that he wasn't protected worth a damn during that Super Bowl. The offensive line was just horrible. And Seattle just blitzed them. They brought those defense ends around the corner. They pushed the middle of the pocket. Peyton just didn't have any room. So he's got to get that monkey off his back first and foremost, because this team, the Panthers team, like I said, is just Seattle blue. I'm sure the same packages that were presented to Peyton in the last Super Bowl are going to be in this Super Bowl. I don't even think the team is better offensively than they were last time when they were in the Super Bowl. So Peyton, he's got to prove, and which he's been very inconsistent throughout the year, when they bring it at Peyton, he has a tendency to throw it up in the air. He has a tendency to throw, like you said, Mike, earlier, anything that's not in the middle of the field, when it's outside the hashes, he's going to throw that pick. He doesn't have that accuracy. He doesn't have that tight window like he had in the past. He doesn't have that arm strength. So I think it's going to have to be a lot of dinks and dunks to receivers, to slant routes, digs, all those type of things that he's going to get the ball out of his hand. But until he can prove that when the pressure's on him that he can be old Peyton Manning, will not be old Peyton Manning, like in the last Super Bowl, I think Cam has a clear-cut advantage now. Also with Cam, he's been known that when there's pressures on him, he has a tendency to throw the ball up in the air as well. But the one thing is about Cam, not only can he beat you with his arm, but he's also elusive. He has good movement in the pocket. I think his running ability could definitely hamper any defense, especially if you bring in the house and he gets out of there. And now you've got the factor that he can run and make plays with his legs. But I think Cam, fresh face. I don't think. Well, I don't know. This could be an interception fest too. I mean, because when things are going good for Cam, he's going good, and he has a tendency when Cam especially early on in his career, when things get bad with Cam, His body language is usually down. He was moping and dope. So if Denver can get him in that kind of process.
Yeah, exactly. The body language goes to hell.
Exactly. So if Denver's defense can get him like that, like the Cam of old, early on in his career, if they can get him frustrated, they can get him pouting and upset, then he's got a shot. But I think because of Cam's newness, his freshness, his ability to run when the pressure comes to him, maybe to make plays with his leg, I give him a slight advantage over Peyton, just because Peyton just looked so horrible in the last Super Bowl.
All right. Well, real quick, we're going to go ahead and pay some more bills. We're going to check out a word from our sponsor, SteelbergBox.com, and then we'll be back with myself, Matt, and Leon's predictions for Super Bowl 50.
I'd like to tell you about our new website, www.steelbergbox.com, a monthly fan box service built to take a fan's passion for the Pittsburgh Steelers to a whole new level. Offering 3 different fan boxes to choose from and several different plans, fans are guaranteed to get way more value in their box than they paid. It's simple. Drop by www.steelbergbox.com. Choose the category and size: men, women, youths, and infants. Then, pick one of our 3 Steelers merchandise fan boxes. After you choose your fan box, hit subscribe. Then choose your monthly plan. You're done. Go Steelers.
All right, we're back with the Super Bowl 50 NFL Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, with Leon Searcy, Matt Andrews-Scavage. Now, we just heard a commercial for SteelbergBox.com, Leon. I think Dennis, the owner of SteelbergBox.com, sent you a box like a week or 2 ago, wasn't it?
Yes, he did. Absolutely loved it. A terrible towel, got a little license plate emblem, put on the back of the car, got some Steeler dice, some cars, some glasses, just Steeler down. Gave some to friends, kept the terrible towel, though. Didn't send it to you because I heard what you would do with it, so I got my terrible towel.
Oh, I was just teasing. I wouldn't do that.
So if somebody orders a box from Steelberg Box, is it a random? Is it do they have different types that you can get?
It's different little trinkets. You get glass, you get dice, you get cars, you get keychains, you get pens, you get terrible towel, you get bandana, you get license plate, you get the emblem, you get all a little different stuff. You get about 15 to 20 different things, all Steeler down. So it's a nice little package. I enjoy it.
So is it like just a standard box that's what everyone gets, like the same thing, or is it just different stuff you're not sure what you're getting?
I think
the boxes are different because I think you could actually. I'm not 100% sure, so Dennis can kick my butt if I'm wrong here. But I think you could actually set it up where you get a box a certain amount of times a year too, can't you, Leon? Or are you sure you know about that at all?
Absolutely. If you become a member, you'll get a different box every month. That's my thought process.
Like a tailgating box, or
there you go. Exactly.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like that Matt may be thinking about switching allegiances from his 49ers.
Come on over, Matt.
No, I'm just curious. I think it's pretty cool.
Matt. Come on, man. We'll convert you,
I don't mind the Steelers.
We'll convert you.
I don't mind anybody except for the 49ers and those 2 damn Super Bowls. But, all right, so let's get to our Super Bowl 50 predictions. Matt, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I got to believe it's going to be a defensive struggle, but I think ultimately Cam Newton's going to be able to get Greg Olsen in some big moments. I think he's going to get at least one big play late in the game to either Ted Ginn Jr., which pains me, or Corey Brown. He just always seems to find one of those guys, and I can also see. I just think there's going to be one drive, like a big drive, where it'll be like a 3rd and 12, and Cam will run for the first down, or a little bit later, Olsen will get like a 25-yard gain. Maybe Ted Ginn gets like a 30-yard gain. It'll be like just one of these long drives, and I can see them winning something like 24-13.
All right, Leon.
I think for the first couple of quarters, I think it's going to be a field goal fest. I think defenses are going to be locked in. I think the offenses are going to try their best to score. They're going to move the ball maybe, but I don't think there's going to be many touchdowns scored. maybe within the first 2 quarters. I think it's going to be a field goal kicking fest. I think in the second half, both teams will make adjustments. I think the Broncos, they'll make adjustments. Peyton will take a little bit more shots. I think Cam's going to take a little bit more shots. But I think Carolina's going to win. I think Carolina's going to win it ultimately in the end, and I believe, just like Matt said, that somewhere in that game it's going to be a 3rd and long, and Denver's going to blitz, and Cam is going to get out of there and he's going to make a first down. It's going to move the drive, which is going to ultimately lead to a touchdown, and a touchdown that puts them over the top and wins the game. So I'm thinking the score is going to be Carolina 19, Denver 13.
All right. Well, I'm going to agree probably with your prediction of a winner. I actually can see 2 or 3 different ways that Denver could win this game. Mm-hmm. They might even be a better all-around team. But my thing is this. From history with Peyton Manning, if you tell me, I know you both have said that Cam was a little bit of a front runner, and he probably is a little bit, but Peyton Manning has been his whole career. The Super Bowls he's played in, I mean, come on, you get the interception against the Saints, which cost them the game when you're driving to win. He's gotten older, can't throw the ball outside the hashes. I think they're going to blitz him to keep him from being able to throw the ball in the middle of the field. I think the only way they win this game, and I hate to say this, is if he gets hurt or they pull him early enough where, they still have a chance to win. I'm not a huge Brock Osweiler fan, but I think there's a lot better chance Brock Osweiler could win this game than Peyton Manning. I know a lot of people might think I'm nuts there, but he's a lot more mobile quarterback. I mean, he hasn't thrown 17 or 18 picks this year. And, I mean, Peyton did that in, a little over half a season. So there is nothing that I've seen from Peyton Manning over the last 3 weeks that tells me he can make the play to beat this defense and win the game. Now, I've seen plenty from Cam Newton this year to tell me that he can. I'm not sure that Cam Newton can because I've never seen him do it in a situation like this. But to be fair to Cam, he's never been in a situation like this. So I think what it comes down to is this. I think that this game starts off not with a safety to start the game, but I think it starts off with Manning being blitzed all over the place. I think if Denver gets the ball first, this could get real ugly real quick. And Denver has a great defense, so I don't think they'll give up as many points as they did to Seattle. But once again, just like Arizona's got a good defense, it wasn't Arizona's defense that gave up those points. It was the offense turning the ball over. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think Denver turns the ball over 4 or 5 times. I think Cam maybe screws up 1 or 2 early, gets in a little bit of a rhythm, and I see Carolina winning the game 31-7.
Ooh.
That's my score.
I'm still thinking Denver is only down 17-13 in the fourth quarter, and then Cam pulls away. I don't know, 31 points against that defense. That's going to be a disappointment then for Denver.
This is from I think this. I think Denver could win the game if Osweiler's playing. If Peyton gets knocked out of the game early, I think they can win the game. I think they have the more complete team. They have the better defense. Their running games are real similar, nothing great. Jonathan Stewart is good, but offensive line-wise, Carolina's better. And even team-wise, it's just going to come down to the offensive line of one team against the defensive line of the other teams, and then vice versa. It's what it always comes down to. 90% of games are won in the trenches. Leon knows that. He played there. If you can't block the other team, it don't matter how many skill position players you got, you're usually going to lose the game. And I do not think, I don't think Carolina has a great offensive line, but they're a lot more capable of blocking for a young, mobile quarterback than Denver is to block for an old, aging quarterback that can only make probably 70% of the throws on the field now. Mm-hmm. That's my 31-7. Would not surprise me if it's closer. That's just my gut feeling is it's Peyton Manning. This is what's going to happen. And,
sure.
I'm not a fan of either team. I don't like Peyton Manning because I just don't like him. I don't know why. I just don't.
Well, it's because you live in Indiana.
He was cold and all that crap, but still, the fact is this. When you constantly get the higher seed, get a home playoff game year after year and lose? Something's wrong there. People rip on Andy Dalton, but, 4 out of those 4 games, only one was at home. Only one, he was the higher seed. Peyton's lost, 6 or 7, 8 playoff games when he was the higher seed. He's lost 5 or 6 of those games at home. That's why I doubt him. Cam Newton, I'm not a big fan of because I just don't like watching guys celebrate first downs. I don't care what you do after a touchdown. I mean, you got to be able to do whatever you want. I didn't have a problem with Terrell Owens desecrating the Cowboys star. They should have kept him out of the end zone. But I just get tired of seeing guys celebrate first downs.
Yeah, that's pretty. But, getting back to Peyton Manning, I think, it's not so much that he loses, home playoff games. I mean, that happens. I think what bothers people that don't like Peyton Manning for that reason is when you're always being told that, he's
the greatest
he's as good as Tom Brady or the greatest ever. That's where it's like, okay, no, that's just not acceptable when you look at playoffs.
If they somehow win, then you got to hear that he's better than Tom Brady. He's won 2 Super Bowls.
Exactly. Right.
Now, in defense of him, a lot of those playoff losses, he had to face the Patriots now. And those Patriots teams back then were pretty damn good. So,
I disagree, Leon, because he's lost 12, 13, 14 playoff games. He's lost as many playoff games, I believe, to the San Diego Chargers, hasn't he? He lost 2 home games to the Chargers where his team was a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
But remember this, Mike, also, there were games like the 08 game and then also the 09 game against the Jets where Manning took the team down the field and they went on a go-ahead score, and the defense failed them. It was not always he threw a pick. I mean, Favre was more known for that than Manning.
Well,
although
I
had
can
a lot
also
of Favre
tell you
moments.
this, though. I can tell you this, though. The University of Tennessee with Peyton Manning won how many national championships?
He didn't win any.
They didn't win any. The year after Peyton Manning left, they had a quarterback by the name of T. Martin. I think he's an assistant coach at USC now. Mm-hmm. And T. Martin was a very ordinary quarterback. T. Martin in the bowl game beat, I think, Nebraska to win the national championship.
Yeah. Well, has Peyton Manning ever had that moment in the playoffs? Even the Super Bowl, they won against Chicago. He wasn't lights out.
He didn't play well. He threw 2 picks.
No, he didn't. And he threw 2 picks in that game. And then, like you said, against the Saints in the Super Bowl, he threw the pick 6 that wiped them out of any chance to win in that game.
And he actually played pretty good in that game until that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
but
I'm not trying to defend Peyton Manning, but that pick was kind of on Reggie Wayne.
Oh, you're going to blame the cane? Really?
Yeah. I think he was a little banged up, and I don't think he ran the right. I don't think he was.
But there's no way for us to know if he ran the right route.
Yeah.
No, I just think he was a little slow getting to where he was supposed to get.
Well, shouldn't Peyton know that he's a little slow getting where he's supposed to get? Maybe throw the ball to somebody a little quicker?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Don't change my narrative here, okay? That's what I got. To it. I don't care if he throws 27 touchdown passes in the next Super Bowl. To me, put it like this. When you watch guys like Brett Favre and Peyton Manning, and they show the 10 biggest moments of their career, they're almost always NFL regular season records.
Yeah, that's very true.
I do believe
all regular season games.
Yeah, I remember Manning playing. He had the game against New England. I'll give him that one where they had the big comeback.
Yep,
he played great there. They won that game. I remember the game against Kansas City, the shootout that they beat him in a divisional playoff. He played really good against a couple bad Denver teams in the wild card game and lit them up. But other than that, that's all you got. With Tom Brady or a Joe Montana, I can come up with about 10 or 15 for each one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's face it, if you want to call him the greatest quarterback ever, would you be, if you had a defense on the field, you got the other team pinned at the 20 with 2 minutes left and 3 timeouts, would you be more afraid of Tom Brady or would you be more afraid of Peyton Manning?
Absolutely. I think that's the measuring, Rob.
Exactly. You just look at what Tom Brady did last year against Seattle in the closing moments of the game. How he took Goldman down and scored a touchdown.
Even look what he did with a horrible offensive line on the pass to Gronkowski at the end of that game inside the 10. It was a great throw.
Yeah.
While getting destroyed in the middle of it.
Yeah,
I mean, he got hit, 40 times, 35 times in one game, but he still stood in and made that one throw. Is there anybody that thinks in the same situation with a guy about to hit him for the 36th, 37th time that Peyton Manning would have made that throw down the middle of the field 25 yards down?
No.
The ball flutters 5 yards over the head, or it falls 5 yards short.
Yeah, I like Peyton Manning. I think he's a good player, but his playoff performances, when you add it all up, it's definitely been one of those things where it's like, okay, I can't put him up as high as I'd like to, just because his playoff performances are just, there's times where
but
it's not always
had some good performances where Brett Favre had like one or two good playoff games.
Well, yeah, I would definitely put him above Favre.
Yeah.
And I mean, but let's face it, I'm not ripping him completely. I'm just ripping people that try to put him in the top 5. I mean, right. I know we did a list on a show like a year ago. I had him at like 7 or 8, I think, maybe even 6. I don't remember. It was somewhere around there. So I'm not claiming he's not a great quarterback. I'm just claiming to put him in a Brady. I mean, there's only 2 quarterbacks to me that even qualify to be in the conversation, and that's Montana and Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. Yeah,
I mean, Montana led a drive 92 yards to win a Super Bowl in the last 3 minutes at the most horrific moment of my life. And then and you got Brady, who led, I've heard people say, well, they were just field goal drives. But the first Rams Super Bowl game, didn't they have the ball inside the 20? I mean, maybe no timeouts or one timeout with only about a minute and a half left?
Yeah, it was very similar to what you just said.
Yeah,
it was. They had to go a ways, and they did against a very good defense. Yeah,
and the same thing against Carolina in the Super Bowl. And let's face it, I mean, he wasn't playing defense, as you said. You used that for Manning's defense. I've heard other people use that for Manning's defense. But they never say, well, Brady'd be 6-0 if his defense would have made a couple plays.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Two crazy throws, and he'd be 6-0 with an undefeated season in that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, I mean, the thing is, when he got the ball back in both of those Super Bowl games, I think there was, 20 or 30 seconds left and no timeout?
Not much time.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you make that a minute, 30 seconds, he's probably won 6 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well, very positive.
Brady's had his moments. I'm still waiting on Peyton's.
Yeah, and you look at Brady, it's not like he's had stud running backs other than Corey Dillon for a couple of years.
Yeah, overall,
they usually just
have gotten by on lower guys, role players.
Well, Matt, any final words?
Well, I'm looking forward to a good game. I hope it's a good game. Honestly, I think I'd like to see Denver win, but either way, it really doesn't matter. Both teams, Carolina's really played well. I was not one that thought they were going to do exceptionally well this year, just because you look at the receiver core and you just Cam Newton hasn't had the greatest success late in the season, especially in the playoff games, and so just wasn't really thinking 15-1. I don't think really a lot of people were. I don't even think Carolina fans were, but they're not 15-1 for no reason. And then they ended last season at I think 8 in a row. We talked about, that's like 25 out of 26 games that they won.
Well, I think it was like 4 or 5, because I think they were like 3-8-1 and then won their last 4. It was the last 4 or 5, I think.
Oh boy, I heard someone else.
I remember reading they were 3-8-1. Yeah. I know they didn't start off 8-1 and make the playoffs, because if they did, that would have been the biggest turnaround from halfway through the season in NFL history.
Right. Well, they won a lot of games in a row, and then obviously the only game they lost was the Atlanta game. So I really do respect Carolina. If they get up, especially like they had been the last few weeks, if they get up 17-0, it's over. But if this game is close, I think you're right. It's really there are a few scenarios where this could go Denver's way, but their defense is just going to have to totally shut down Carolina's offense. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it will be close, but ultimately Carolina pulls away. I hope it's an entertaining game. I hope that it's not over by halftime.
Well, you know what? Lady Gaga's going to sing the national anthem, so it can't get any better than that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Ooh, la, 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 la. What do you think, Leon? Final thought?
Oh, I just hope it's a good game, especially a Peyton Manning game. The last game against Seattle was just a steamroll. Did not enjoy it. Hope the commercials don't suck. I figured you spent $3 to $5 million for a 30-second ad. Entertain me, especially if the game gets out of hand. I hope it doesn't. I mean, that Seattle Super Bowl, that was the worst. It was the worst, and the Doritos usually has a good commercial, so I'm looking forward to the Doritos commercial. They usually have the good Super Bowl commercials coming up. But I hope it's an entertaining game. I hope it goes down to the wire. I couldn't get any better than last year's Super Bowl. Even though I wasn't rooting for the Patriots, that was most exciting Super Bowl I've watched in a very, very long time. So I hope it's a good game from start to finish. I think both defenses are going to be locked and tuned in, and I think both offenses are going to struggle a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see the final score once it's all said and done.
Well, I can tell you this. I want to see a game that ends 31-7 with Seattle, with Carolina winning, because that's what I picked. And then I want Mark Cooper to get his ass on this show next Tuesday night and let me trash him for an hour. That's what
Well, just remember, with Gary Dunn.
Yes, and Gary Dunn will be in there. We can all tag team it. It'll be like one of them old WWE Royal Rumbles where they put everybody in the ring and then, 4 or 5 guys that form an alliance and then tag team the hell out of somebody.
Well, I look at it this way. I had to take a beating with my team. Later on, Mike took a beating with his team in the wild card round. Leon took a little bit of flack when the Steelers got knocked out. I think, maybe it's fair that we all take a beating at some point this
year.
Yeah. But I still say me or Leon's team would have been in the Super Bowl without the injuries. And Gary Dunn did agree with me on that tonight, that the Bengals and the Steelers were the best 2 teams in the AFC.
They were. They just were beat up, that's all.
Yeah, you guys really beat the tar out of each other, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it definitely wasn't when they played the 49ers that affected either one of them. But all right, guys, we will have another show next week. We'll do a Super Bowl 50 wrap-up show, so make sure you look out for that. Check out the Grueling Truth Facebook page. Catch us on Spreaker, Stitcher, all that good stuff. Make sure you check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. Make sure you check out Steelberg Box at I did too many W's there, wasn't it, Matt? www.steelbergbox.com. And also check out Real Bengals Fans at www.realbengalfans.com. It's really hard to say 3 W's in a row.
Yeah, you don't really need to anymore. Everybody knows.
I know, but I just like to do it because it's hard to do. That and it takes up space just in case I can't think of anything else to say. Make sure you check us out. All the shows this week. We have, of course, the Pick'em Show tonight. We interviewed former Pittsburgh Steeler, stalwart defensive lineman on the Steel Curtain, Gary Dunn. Talked about Super Bowl 13, 14 a little bit. Trashed Mark Cooper a little bit. So make sure you guys check that out because that's always fun. And he's got a good story about Mark, too, that if Mark doesn't listen to that show, we'll have to bring up next Tuesday. We're going to bring it up either way. But me and Matt last night did a show you can find now on the Facebook page and Spreaker, the top 10 worst teams to make it to the Super Bowl. And then we've got Thursday night, the top 10 games in Super Bowl history. And we will have another show probably tomorrow night. So make sure you keep on the lookout for all that. So for Leon Searcy, Matt Andrew Scavage, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.